Hello everyone, today we're gonna talk about 10 brutal murder cases that will definitely keep you up at night. Tamara Samsonova, the Granny Ripper. Samsonova is a 68-year-old Russian woman who murdered and ate at least 11 people and kept a diary where she detailed her crimes. She killed her friend Valentina Ulanova by drugging her salad with sleeping pills and using a handsaw to dismember her while she was still alive. After her, Samsonova found Ulanova's body lying on the kitchen floor on the 9th of July 23rd and proceeded to dismember it with 2 knives and a saw. Firstly sawing off the victim's head, she then sawed the body in half and then using the knives she sheared it into pieces. To take out all the bags outside of the apartment, she had to go outside and return several times. Samsonova left pieces of her friend's body scattered in the house. On the evening of July 26, the decapitated body with severed limbs wrapped in a bathroom curtain was found near a pond at house number 10 on Dimitrov Street. The package initially didn't attract any attention for several days until a local resident took an interest in its contents. Issei Sagawa. The Japanese man fell for a woman named Renée Hartevelt while he was in France and invited her over to where he was staying. While there, he snuck up behind her and shot her in the head. Sagawa said he fainted after the shock of shooting her, but awoke with the realization that he had to carry out his plan. He ate her flesh for 3 days until he was caught in a park with 2 suitcases filled with the dismembered body parts. His actions were so horrendous I can't describe them in the video, but if you're interested, you can find all the details with a simple Google search. Sagawa was arrested but released after 2 years of pre-trial detention upon being found legally insane and deported to Japan. Sagawa's release was due to a legal technicality, and his post-release celebrity in Japan led to international publicity. In an interview with Vice magazine in 2011, Sagawa said that being forced to make a living while being known as a murderer and cannibal was a terrible punishment. In 2013, Sagawa was hospitalized from a cerebral infarction, which permanently damaged his nervous system. He now lives alone and needs daily assistance, which is provided by his younger brother or from caregivers. David Parker Ray, the toy box killer. Ray tortured victims in a decked-out chamber he called his toy box, filled with chains, whips, and even saws. Even though there's no actual proof he killed anyone, he's presumed to have murdered almost 60 women. Ray was convicted of kidnapping and torture in 2001, for which he received a lengthy sentence, but he was never convicted of murder. He died of a heart attack about 1 year after his convictions in 2 cases, the second of which resulted in a plea deal. The Greyhound bus murder. While aboard a packed Greyhound bus in 2008, Vince Lee stabbed and beheaded 22-year-old Tim McLean. According to witnesses, McLean was sleeping with his headphones on when the man sitting next to him suddenly produced a large knife and began stabbing him in the neck and chest. After the attack began, the bus driver pulled to the side of the road and he and all the other passengers fled the vehicle. The driver and 2 other men made an attempt to rescue McLean, but they were chased away by Lee, who slashed at them from behind the locked bus doors. Lee ultimately decapitated McLean and displayed his severed head to those standing outside the bus, then returned to McLean's body and began severing other parts and consuming some of McLean's flesh. On December 21, 2008, 5 months after McLean's death, his son was born. Vince Lee was found not criminally responsible due to mental illness and is currently free. Christopher Porco. On November 15, 2004, Peter Porco, a 52-year-old state appellate division court clerk, was found dead of massive head injuries in his home in Delmar, New York. His wife, Joan Porco, a children's speech pathologist, was discovered lying in the couple's blood-drenched bed with severe head trauma. She survived the attack but lost 1 eye and part of her skull and suffered severe facial disfigurement. Apparently, their son, Christopher Porco, had forged his parents' signatures on loans for college and the new Jeep, and they weren't happy, so he thought murdering them would solve the issue. On December 12, 2006, Judge Jeffrey Berry sentenced Porco to 50 years to life on each count, totaling a minimum of 50 years in prison. He will be eligible for parole in December 2052. Carl Panzram. Panzram said he killed over 21 people and sodomized over 1,000 boys and men. One of his most brutal murders occurred in the 1920s when he hired 6 men to work on a boat with him in Angola, and shortly after he shot them dead and fed them to the crocodiles. In his autobiography he wrote, "For all these things, I am not the least bit sorry." After a lifetime of crime, during which he served many prison terms and escaped from them just as much, he was executed by hanging in 1930 for the murder of a prison employee at Leavenworth Federal Prison. Dean Corll and the Houston Mass Murders. Dean Corll, Elmer Wayne Henley Jr., and David Brooks kidnapped, tortured, and killed 28 young boys from 1970 to 1973. All of the victims were males aged 13 to 20, the majority of whom were in their mid-teens. Each victim was either strangled to death or shot, and the murders were referred to as the most horrendous in American history at the time. The murder spree ended when Henley brutally shot Corll to death. Henley is serving his life sentence at the Mark Stiles Unit in Jefferson County, Texas. He is next eligible for parole on October 2025. Brooks served his life sentence at the Terrell Unit near Rocheron, Texas. He died of COVID-19 related complications at the Galveston Hospital on May 28, 2020, at the age of 65. Edmund Kemper, the co-ed killer. He brutally killed 6 female students, 2 of his grandparents, his mom, and her best friend by the age of 24. He found the 6 girls in the mountains of California while they were hitchhiking, decapitated them, and had sex with their corpses. As for his mom, he killed her with a claw hammer when she returned from a party. He beheaded her, shouted at her head for an hour, then threw darts at her face. He murdered her best friend to try and make it look like they both went on vacation. After driving for hours over 1,000 miles, he simply stopped at a payphone, called the cops, and turned himself in. He was denied parole in 2017 and is next eligible in 2024. Candace Newmaker's murder. In 2000, adopted 10-year-old Candace was taken to intensive therapy to help cope with being apart from her biological parents. Candace was wrapped in a flannel sheet and covered with pillows to simulate a womb or birth canal, and was told to fight her way out of it, with the apparent expectation that the experience would help her attach to her adoptive mother. 4 of the adults, weighing in a combined total of 673 pounds, used their hands and feet to push on Candace's head, chest, and 70-pound body to resist her attempts to free herself, while she complained, pleaded, and even screamed for help and air, unable to escape from the sheet. Candace stated 11 times during the session that she was dying, to which Ponder responded, "Go ahead, die right now, for real, for real." 20 minutes into the session, Candace had vomited and excreted inside of the sheet. She was nonetheless kept restrained within. 40 minutes into the session, Candace was asked if she wanted to be reborn. She faintly responded, no. This would ultimately be her last word. To this, Ponder replied, "Quitter, quitter, 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 quit, quit, quit. She's a quitter." Newmaker, who had been watching on a monitor in another room, rushed into the room, remarked on Candace's color, and began CPR while Watkins called 911. When paramedics arrived 10 minutes later, McDaniel told them that Candace had been left alone for 5 minutes during a rebirthing session and was not breathing. The paramedics surmised that Candace had been unconscious and possibly not breathing for some time. They were able to restore the girl's pulse, and she was flown by helicopter to a hospital in Denver. However, she was declared brain dead the next day, April 19, as a consequence of asphyxia. The session was transcribed up to the moment when she suffocated. The death of Sylvia Likens. In October 1965, police found teen Sylvia Likens' starved and lifeless body, tortured by hundreds of burns and deep cuts. Likens was increasingly neglected, belittled, sexually humiliated, beaten, starved, lacerated, and dehydrated by her tormentors. Her autopsy showed 150 wounds across her body, including several burns, scald marks, and eroded skin. Through intimidation, her younger sister Jenny was occasionally forced to participate in her mistreatment. The official cause of her death was determined to be a homicide caused by a combination of subdural hematoma and shock, complicated by severe malnutrition. The attack was led by Gertrude Banisewski, a woman Likens was staying with the help of Likens' friends, boyfriend, and even her sister. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. For me, the last 2 cases are the most heartbreaking. Candace and Sylvia were just young girls that did not deserve to be treated this way. It's horrible when you think about the fact that their deaths were caused by adults who were supposed to actually take care of them. If you want to know more details about these stories, you can go ahead and search, but I warn you, it's gonna be hard to digest. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to my channel. It will help me a lot. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye bye.